Well, good afternoon, everyone. This, as you saw in the title, is an emergency podcast. I don't think I have done one of these, but today, because of the shooting at the Catholic school in Minneapolis, I just feel compelled to share, and I'm glad that I can do that with you here. Let's begin, as we always begin, by recognizing, realizing that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more God and each other. I am so angry, sad, and just hurt by this shooting today, this murder today. I'm not going to go into all the details. I'm sure you are finding out about them, but it's horrific. And it feels personal to me in the sense that I was a Catholic high school teacher for 18 years. And I know what the school mass is like. I know how important and how symbolic and significant and how joyful it's supposed to be. It usually is. And it was taken, it was shattered from those children. Two children were murdered, 8 and 10. Many more were injured. And yeah, in a church, during mass. And I know that this is not the first time that a mass shooting has happened in a place of worship. I remember I believe it was Charleston, in the basement of that historically Black church, the murder of the parishioners at Bible study. Horrific. I know at least of one time in a church in Texas that somebody fired from the outside and killed worshipers on the inside. To my knowledge, though, this is the first time this has happened at a Catholic church. We've had other, again, places of worship, the synagogue, of course, the Tree of Life in Pittsburgh. And what this feels is different for me because, again, it is a Catholic school, a Catholic church, and these, again, are children. And sadly, frustratingly, aggravatingly, we know the pattern on this, right, y'all? We know the pattern. The president has offered thoughts and prayers, and now we wait to find out who this shooter is. We know from reports that he had 3 guns and he took his own life as well. And we're going to find out. And then that's when all of the discussion about what was his motives, and I say he, I'm assuming it was a he. I believe it was identified as a male, but it's always a male, right? I mean, it always is. And probably young and probably white. I mean, that's the pattern. That's what we see, right? And because it's so familiar, because we've seen this before, we just go about our ways, just, business as usual, right? Without calling this what it is. And it is evil. It is systemic evil, right? Yes, it is the shooter and the murderer, whatever it is that brought him to this. And we're going to find that out. And maybe he's left leaning, maybe he's right leaning, maybe he's MAGA, maybe he's a lib, maybe he is targeting this church or the Catholic Church, whatever, right? And that will become the political area of discussion, all of that. And what we will overlook, what we will avoid looking at is what systems of evil bring this to this place, right? The system of evil that corrupted whoever this murderer was, and certainly mental illness will be a part of that. Was he treated? Was he able to be treated, right? What kind of health care did he not get or get? Was he able to buy a weapon, multiple weapons of murder without any kind of a background check? Or maybe he already had screened, he was already screened for, for mental health. Why was he able to buy these weapons, right? Did anyone know? Was anybody watching, to see this person, right? We know all of these questions, and all of those are systems of evil that allow this to happen, right? And that's what we don't want to look at. And now we're layering on top of this a whole nother system of evil And that is what we are seeing in this fascist regime that is rising. I was looking at one of the stories about this, and in the last 24 hours, Minneapolis has had multiple mass shooting events, right? It is one of those, cities that the dictator in chief right now is talking about sending National Guard troops to. And I'm willing to bet, y'all, I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. But I'm willing to bet as soon as this subsides, before the end of the day, you're going to hear the dictator in chief talking about sending National Guards to Minneapolis, to the Twin Cities. And all of the political stuff. When Governor Tim Walz pushes back and says, like, hopefully he'll say, like other governors, Pritzker and Westmore and Gavin Newsom have said, no, not in my state. Then all of the MAGA will be, look, it's a blue city with crime and they're doing this and and it's going to just be all of this political noise and nonsense, distraction and avoidance. And we will forget that we live in a country where children could be praying in a church, celebrating Mass, and be murdered on a beautiful, beautiful beginning of the school year. And those families, that community, that neighborhood will be shattered. And I have one last thought, and this is where I get hot, y'all, all right? On this video, I don't consider myself Catholic anymore. I can't. And part of the reason I can't, I don't even consider myself Christian anymore. I call myself a planetary pilgrim on the way of Christ, and that is intentional. And that is what I believe. I worship at an Episcopal church, and it's a wonderful church. I have friends. I just fortunately talked to a friend who is a ordained Catholic deacon, and it was good to talk to him, to be able to get some of these things out, and he has a pulpit. He's going to have to preach on this or not. Maybe his community will want silence because it's a Catholic church and they don't want to hear this, right? Because it's political as we start to call out evil these days. Well, here's the thing, and this is really where I get heated. And it's all the Catholics and all the Christians, and they voted for T-Rump in large numbers, right? Up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I bet there are no shortage of Catholics up there, probably in that church itself, in that community itself, who voted for the dictatorship and the fascist, because they believed, and I know Catholics, and they believe this, many of them believe this, that the GOP, which at this point, as a side note, y'all, that is guardians of pedophiles. That's what, until they release the Epstein file, until they come clean on that, they are guardians of pedophiles, GOP, right? They're Catholics in that city, in that parish, in every parish, who voted for T-Rump because they thought he was pro-life. And it is not a pro-life party. It is an anti-life party. And it is an anti-goodness party at this point. And we need to call it out. And those Catholics that voted for him, those Catholics that are still watching Fox News, those Catholics that are going to, bend themselves in knots of cognitive dissonance about how they're going to navigate through this, the blood of those children kneeling in a church, and the church that has been desecrated, right? The church that has been desecrated and will not be a place of worship again because of the blood that was spilled there. It is on your hands, Catholics. It is on your hands. And until you and all of us, and we're all complicit in this, anyone in a church who is not standing up against this violence, against the gun violence that continues, we are all complicit, but especially Catholics in that parish who voted for T-Rump. You are complicit. And I hope some of you realize that. I hope some of you come out publicly and speak. We need more voices of people that voted for him and now admit that they were wrong, and now admit that we need to do something else, who stand with us when we protest, when we rally this coming weekend on Labor Day, right? We want those people, and I welcome those people. And if you're one of those Catholics or you know some of those Catholics, welcome. But if you continue to play this game, if you call yourself a person of faith and you continue to play this game, that this is okay, that kids can get murdered in mass, that it's okay that we have National Guards on 2 of our city streets, and now I guarantee we're going to see the push to get them in Minneapolis this afternoon. It is wrong. It is wrong, and you are complicit. All right, y'all. I got to watch my blood pressure, and it's definitely gotten high here. I appreciate you watching this. Feel free to share this. I want to end, as we end here, with a prayer for those who are lost, those families. My children aren't little, but I will maybe someday have grandchildren. And the parents, the families, what they're going through right now, my heart goes out to them. So let us pray this prayer. Maybe you know this. It is a Catholic traditional prayer. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May those 2 children, the 8-year-old and the 10-year-old, and may those who are injured be well. May those 2 rest in peace, and all the victims of gun violence in Minneapolis the last few days and across our country, may they rest in peace. And may we, the complicit, not rest until we say enough. Thanks, y'all. Blessing and good. Be bold. Be well.